So firms throughout the industry have been increasingly focused on the resilience of the transportation system for good reason. People are concerned about climate change. We seem to always be seeing more and more floods, tornadoes, extreme weather events, and there's a growing concern that we seem to go back trying to rebuild the same things over and over again. And how can we really make our system resilient? What many of our peers in the industry do, understandably, is we look at physical hazards. So if you look at most of the resilience planning that's going on, it's simply asking a question like, how likely is my highway to flood? How old or vulnerable is this particular bridge? Where is it possible that if I had an extreme weather event, what would break? And how can I basically find all that stuff that could break and protect it? And so we have a protect program, and that's all wonderful. However, there's a number of things that are often missing from the resilience discussion that we at Metro Analytics are here to help answer. And that gets into the issue of if I have to prioritize how I'm investing in resilience, what is the business case? What am I really protecting? Because in reality, we don't want to invest just to protect a bridge because it's a bridge. I mean, to some degree we do because we spend money on a bridge. But what about the people going over the bridge? What about the businesses served? What about the occupations that might be really needed in a disruption? Metro Analytics concerns itself on the human side of transportation with what we are protecting, how we can make resilience investments that are most going to protect our economy, our households, and our businesses. And if you're interested in that type of question, that is where Metro Analytics fits into resilience planning. So to do this, Metro Analytics has basically put together what we call the network resilience ecosystem. What we mean by this is that in the resilience world, you do have your physical assets, very important. Your highways, bridges, buildings, yes, they can be old, they're conditioned, they're physically in hazardous places, some of them. That's important. But when they fail, they have cascading effects into our institutions, our businesses, our hospitals, our police departments. How our businesses operate, how our whole community operates is affected by different things that could happen on that physical system. And beyond that, there can be further cascading effects into our households and our individual businesses and our everyday lives. So for example, two bridges may be in poor condition. Two bridges are equally vulnerable. Two bridges have the same physical hazard. One bridge connects you to the power plant. Another bridge connects you to a manure factory. The bridge to the power plant goes out. There is a power outage throughout the community. There's a cascading effect. There's a whole nother disruption that happens. What was just a bridge going out is now a regional power outage. A hospital is without power, and then the emergency room is down. And then you have widespread effects on people throughout the community. So it's not just these two bridges are not the same just because they have the same physical hazard and design characteristics. Real resiliency planning means we have to look at the whole resiliency ecosystem from the physical side to the human side. Metro Analytics connects these dots through our understanding of supply chains, the value chain, and the workforce. So this is the way that we look at resiliency at Metro Analytics. And if this is of interest or importance, we're the people that can come and help answer these questions. So understanding the network resilience ecosystem is at the heart of what you get when you come to Metro Analytics for resilience planning. Cascading effects in the value chain have these upstream and downstream impacts. Again, one vulnerable link could affect both who is trying to sell their product and get their goods or services or even their emergency services to market. It also affects whoever is expecting that to come. So to understand cascading effects, it's very important that we understand all those connected partners, where they are and how they're affected. And in Metro Analytics resilience planning, we spend a lot of time looking at the components of network resilience. We don't just look at where is my road going to flood. We are looking at, okay, well, how dispersed are certain things I need? How dispersed are my healthcare facilities? How dispersed is my warehousing? Do I have multiple points of being able to get onto an interstate highway system or just one? How substitutable are the goods that are available in my community? Do I have operationally independent services and operationally independent infrastructure? If one thing goes down, can the rest of it stay up? How frequently do buses and trains come? How frequently do things happen in my community that if I miss one, I can get the next one? What is the simplicity and directness of being able to get things? Are there 30 different steps that have to happen before I can get one thing delivered? Or can I just get a simple order filled? How well can I see where my things are coming from in a disruption so that I can pivot and make other decisions? How diversified are the resources in my local economy so that if I lose one thing, I can still use something else? And how much inventory do I have access to if all of a sudden I'm not able to get things? So we look at all of the components of resilience at Metro Analytics, not just the physical condition or physical hazard on a piece of infrastructure. Another thing that we do in Metro Analytics with resilience that's very important is we look at our hard and soft assets. A way of understanding this is a hard asset is something that can only happen in one place. If you lose access to the drinking water reservoir or the power plant or the airport, you're not going to be able to land planes at an alternative location or purify water somewhere else for a whole community or generate electricity for a whole community somewhere else. If you lose access to those on your transportation system, you have a much bigger problem than if you lose access to a softer asset that can be staged. Like, for example, you can hand out food or medicine at a lot of different locations, even if your pharmacy is closed down. But the hard assets are things that you must preserve your transportation access to. So we have a methodology at Metro Analytics where we can map out based on industry data and based on other big data, where are the hard assets that we need to protect? What are the transportation facilities that serve them? So this is an analysis of the state of Illinois, where we've identified in the deep shades of red the concentration of hard assets that you have to have access to in a disruption. Where are they concentrated, and where are they dependent on certain modal transportation infrastructure elements that may not be particularly redundant? So doing this, we can identify what we call resilience clusters. These resilience clusters are areas where we can really focus on enhancing infrastructure access, as well as trying to enhance all of the components of resilience to make the supply chain, the value chain, and the occupations better able to handle disruptions. So resiliency cluster planning is a very big part of what we do at Metro Analytics. This hard and soft asset methodology was created by Metro Analytics for the National Cooperative Highway Research Program. And we are the first people to have applied it at either the state or the metropolitan area level. Likewise, when we start looking at resilience and cascading effects, ultimately we can start to see the reach of different assets and investments. So for example, if you were to lose certain routes on the Illinois highway system, you might really be compromising your access to waterborne commerce on the Mississippi River. This is basically a simple analysis that shows what are the highway facilities that are needed to safeguard Illinois' access to waterborne commerce on the Mississippi. And this can be very useful for prioritizing multimodal corridors in resilience planning. We have the same thing with O'Hare Airport up in Chicago. If we were to lose access to some of these key routes to O'Hare Airport, we would greatly compromise international trade in the United States. So understanding the intermodal linkages to different things in our resiliency network is very important. We have a similar thing with the Chicago rail yards. We can see which facilities are the most critical for providing access to the most goods to these different critical freight assets that we need to protect. So in Metro Analytics, we can basically map out a resilience ecosystem. Currently, vulnerability maps are commonly done, as we see in Florida. Base maps exist. But in Metro Analytics, we also start getting into your cascading effects. So again, the thing that you will find in Metro Analytics resiliency planning that is not as common other places is the human side of transportation. You will see, how can I protect my nurses and doctors and firefighters and their ability to get to work? How can I protect access to my hard assets, my things that I just can't do anywhere else? What are the cascading effects of what I'm protecting? How can I get a profile of, if I have $50 million worth of things in which I would like to invest in resilience, how can I prioritize and figure out which ones are going to be most essential and have the widest effect down in my businesses and institutions and households if there really should be a disruption? So Metro Analytics, we take resilience far beyond just working up a list of things that we want to enhance that might flood or get damaged. And we really look at how we can invest in things that are going to safeguard everything in the entire economy. And so we very much look forward to helping people in their resilience planning, making the most of the Protect program, making the most of the generational opportunity that we have to really safeguard the assets that on which our people and our households and our businesses are most dependent. And we encourage everybody to go and look at the playbook that's coming out from NCHRP that we were able to develop.